the last topic we'll cover in this workshop video is how to use Zotero groups to collaborate with others. Now, if you're working on a shared research project like our assignments, Zotero groups lets you create a shared library that's going to include your collection, your sources, as well as things like tags, notes, and any highlights that are added by group members. And everything syncs automatically across those accounts. So our first step is going to be to create a group. Our Zotero groups have to be created through our online Zotero account. They can't be made from the desktop app like we've been using throughout this workshop. So let's start by going to zotero.org, and towards the top we're going to click on Login. And so this first page that we land on is going to be our Zotero library. It's just the version from our online account. But we don't have to do anything here. Instead, we're going to go and create a Zotero group. Up at the top, you're going to see a tab that's called Groups. And from there, it's going to bring me to my groups page. And so here I have listed all of the other groups that I have either created or joined. And we are going to create a new group. On this next page, we are going to choose a name for our group. And similarly to when we created our Zotero account, we do need to choose a unique name for our group. So as I can see here, because I've selected a group name that doesn't exist anywhere else in Zotero, my URL to that group is going to be green. If you've selected a group name that already exists, you will have to adjust the name to make it unique. From my group type selection, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select private membership. Now, the reason for this is I do find for most research projects, it's best to work with this group type. And we will see that when we create the group, kind of all of the different settings that are associated with a private membership. So from here, I can see in the settings, I've clicked on the private as a group type. And down below, it's going to tell me all of kind of the settings that are involved with that. So any group member can read the library. They can also edit that library, so they can bring in and collect any sources into that particular group. Group members also have the ability to edit files. So this is going to be things like creating notes and highlighting certain sections of your attachments. So I do find that this is kind of the best setup for research projects or if students are doing assignments or projects. So I'll just click Save Settings. And then I will go back to my groups page. And I can now see this new group that I created, Library 101-MGMT 620. Once your group is created, let's open our Zotero app, because what you're now going to see listed in the left-hand column is where all of your group libraries exist. So in this case, I do have a number of group libraries that I've created, especially for workshops like these, but we can see that one we just created together, which was Library 101-MGMT 620. And so we can now use that group library just like we were before. We can collect sources, we can add both collections and sub-collections, so creating those folders. As an example, if I've highlighted that new group I've created, I'll click on my file folder to create a new collection. And I now have a dedicated collection to that assignment that we're all working on. And of course, your group can determine how you want to organize information in this group library. Now, the second piece for working with our group library is, of course, to add our teammates. So we're going to walk through how we add collaborators. I'm going to go back to my Zotero group. So I'm on my Zotero groups page, and from that group that we created, I now need to manage members. And when I scroll to the bottom, you're seeing this page set up the way it is because I am the owner of this group. I created this group, but now I can send invitations to my group members. And so when I click on that hyperlink, it's going to bring me to this page. And in this box, you can list your I highly recommend using Zotero usernames rather than email addresses. And the reason for this is because if you use an email address and you send that invitation off to somebody who hasn't created a Zotero account with that particular email address, it might be a little bit confusing for you. Or for them, I guess. And so I do just recommend kind of keeping this as simple as possible. You have one group member who is creating your Zotero group for everyone on the project. And then that person will have or be given Zotero usernames so that they can send off those invitations. And it's going to work very similar to how we set up our account. So group members will receive an email from Zotero saying that you've been added or you're being invited to this group. And when they click on that link and they open their app, as long as our account has been synced, so remember how when we originally set up our Zotero desktop app, that final step was to sync our desktop app with our account. As long as that has happened, the other group members are going to see this space for group libraries, and they are going to have that new group, Library 101, Management 620, or whatever you've named your Zotero group. One final note is around storage. And so when we signed up for our account, we signed up for the Zotero free plan. And as a reminder, this provides 300 megabytes of storage. When it comes to group libraries, all of the attached files, so this is going to be our PDFs, our snapshots, and of course the little bit of storage that it takes to house that citation information. All of those things are going to count against the storage of the person who created the group. And so for this reason, I would highly recommend that you're really only adding in sources that you truly plan to work with rather than uploading everything that you find. So with this in mind, Zotero groups are a really great way to share essentially a library of research sources for teamwork, for project work to that group. I highly encourage you to discuss amongst your group members whether Zotero is a tool that makes sense for your workflow and your project, because it really is a great way to collaborate with others, especially having that shared library of resources that is going to stay in sync with all of those group member accounts.